Hello internet viewers, I'm the fairly odd gamer. After getting a text message from Sonic a month ago, I decided to review the sequel to my all-time favorite 3D Sonic game. It was only fitting that I review it with GC, knowing that he helped me out on the SA1 review for the channel last year. What's this? Another game reviewer has joined the party? Turns out that Sonicify also has fond memories of this game, while trying not to remember the last time I collaborated with him. Oh my gosh! Is that Sonic the Hedgehog? Looks like he wanted to help us out as well. So far we've covered most of the game's story as well as some of the gameplay elements. Some were good, but others, not so much. Anyway, we saw Eggman place the last Chaos Emerald into the Eclipse Cannon only to get a warning alert. Will Sonic and friends be able to save the day? What will become of Shadow? Looks like we're about to find out as we talk about the final story of Sonic Adventure 2. Roots informs Sonic and friends that the space colony Ark is about to crash into Earth at a high velocity, which explains why the Ark is vibrating as if they're in an earthquake.
Oh, and that video clip from Gerald? It's actually a death threat in which Gerald programmed the Ark to impact the Earth as revenge against humanity once all Chaos Emeralds are placed inside the Eclipse Cannon. Dr. Eggman hands Rouge a disc, which is actually a piece of his grandfather's diary. So allow us to summarize what happened over 50 years ago. During that time, the military, or GUN, raided the space colony in order to stop Professor Gerald's research project, that being the ultimate life form, Shadow, which led to the death of Gerald's granddaughter Maria, therefore driving Gerald to insanity.
I do want to point out that according to the game's manual, Eggman and Maria are cousins. But since they both share the same grandfather, that would imply that both of their parents are siblings. Sometimes the kinship between them and Gerald confuses me. But like they always say,
nobody reads the manual!
So because of this, the Ark was completely shut down and Gerald had lost everything he had hoped for.
See? Spider-Man was right all along. However, Gerald managed to complete Project Shadow and wanted to release it on the world if they wished to fill the world with destruction, which somewhat explains why Eggman released Shadow from the base at the beginning of the game. And this leads to one of our main problems with Sonic Adventure 2. The lack of detail within the game's story. Remember what GC said about having more plot holes in the game? This is why. Which means it's time to play everything wrong with this part of the story in the short amount of time! Yeah! Gunn recorded Gerald's last words, which told them that he'll get revenge on humanity using the Ark to fall onto Earth. And Gunn does nothing to get rid of it or destroy it. Why? Seems counterintuitive to why you guys raided the Ark in the first place. Plus, it's been 50 years since the Ark's military raid.
Since it was Gunn that had the idea to raid the Ark and kill everyone, shouldn't Professor Gerald want revenge on Gunn rather than all of humanity? Seems like overkill if you ask me. Not to mention, Gunn funded the research for the Ultimate Lifeform project, weapons and all. So why suddenly pull the plug and have everyone on board the Ark killed in the process? While the game never explains who actually started the raid, I can only assume it was Black Doom, but we're not at that game yet.
So if Gerald reprogrammed Shadow to think that Maria wanted revenge on humanity, when did he have the time to do that if Gunn raided the Ark, killed Maria, and arrested Gerald around the same time? Well, I've been playing this game and this series front to back for several years, practically all my life. I know this story, I know these characters, I know this world, so let me give it a shot. Let me try to, weave a little tale and, patch up all the plot holes that are kind of all over the place here. Buckle up, boys and girls. This is gonna get weird. 50 years before this game took place, Professor Gerald, along with Maria, were aboard the space colony Ark. Not only was this colony created as a science lab in space, funded by Gunn, but also the research on the Ark was done for the betterment of mankind. Wanting to create a cure for Maria's fatal disease, Gerald created his breakthrough, entitled Project Shadow, for that very purpose. But as the budget got tighter, Gunn initially planned on backing out unless Gerald would assist them in creating effective contraband weaponry, most of them now destroyed by our heroes. Trying to get Project Shadow back on track, Gerald decides to use the power of the Chaos Emeralds to create a creature more compact and an easier to sustain body. Hence, Shadow the Hedgehog was born. Thanks to being built with the energy of the Chaos Emeralds, he was able to have access to the Chaos Force at all times, and that's where he has his natural ability of Chaos Control. Once he was fully completed, He befriended Maria, who taught Shadow everything she knew of the Earth and everything on it. However, due to suspicion of the project having little to no results, the President cuts the project off, believing that Shadow may be a potential weapon. Gunn was ordered to raid the whole thing and kill all who knew about the weapons research, primarily Shadow. Being protected by Shadow, Maria gets shot in the back and sends Shadow away via an escape pod in her last dying breath. Gerald was then taken to Prison Island, facing a private incarceration under the guise of possible ties to something he wasn't supposed to find. In exchange for his life and the safety of his granddaughter, he would continue to make weapons for Gunn without any notice, completely unaware of the fact that his daughter was in fact dead. Eventually he finds out that Maria was in fact one of those who died on the ship, causing him to lose control. After seeking through Shadow's files, some which are still corrupted, Gerald was able to reprogram Shadow's mental state, seeking vengeance against all who wronged him and suffering for the humans who would further mistreat his research and taint the very idea of life itself with their own ideas of selfish growth, lust for power, and thirst for war. If it was a war they want, they'll get it. Gerald knew that the Eclipse Cannon was used as a garbage dump for personal and safety reasons. All he needed was another file to flood the systems and cause the entire space colony to overload and careen toward the planet. Gerald got caught working out of turn and was granted his last words, cast aside as lunacy before the firing squad pulled the triggers. Shadow, now locked away in an undisclosed gun base for eternity, would eventually be broken free by Dr. Eggman, knowing the coordinates via a diary entry, starting the events of Sonic Adventure 2.
Well, since we covered most, if not all, the story's plot holes, thanks to GC, this leads to one important question. How can a game with 3 story campaigns end up being more difficult to piece together than a game with 6 story campaigns, 7 if you include the final story? How is that even possible?
You guys are looking way too deep into this. It's a game starring me that's made for kids. Just because this game has too many unanswered questions, it doesn't change the fact that Sonic Adventure 2 is one of the best games I've ever done, with entertaining values and almost everything needed for a game that has me involved.
Actually, you know what? Sonic does have a point there.
Yeah, I agree. Besides, that was tiring.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, it's revealed that the energy coming from the Chaos Emeralds is causing the Ark's impact towards Earth. Luckily, Rouge remembered that Knuckles disclosed that the Master Emerald has the power to neutralize the power of the Chaos Emeralds, and therefore stop the Ark.
Also, for the first time, Sonic and his friends team up with Dr. Eggman, and it's up to them to get to the cannon's core to stop the Ark from falling.
Let's get to work!
This leads to the final level of the game, Cannon's Core. This is the only stage in the game where you play as not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 characters, each with their own section of the stage.
First up is Tails and Eggman, who are tasked with breaking through security doors and destroying everything trying to destroy you. Thankfully, there's no time limit to these segments, but the pressure's still on. Tails' segment feels like a retread of Eternal Engine, as mentioned before, and Eggman, unfortunately having to be in normal gravity again, has a rather tricky block puzzle to try and hop across to get to where you need to be. The big gimmick of Cannon's Core is the time stop switch. Press this button and time will freeze for a brief duration, making enemies nearly a non-issue, and it can make obstacles vanish completely like red lasers in these sections. Eggman and Tails have the simplest trek through these stages, so once these doors are blown up with their Vulcan cannons, it's time to move on.
Up next is Bruise the Bat. All she has to do is drain the liquid out of the core by pressing the emergency drain switch, which is trapped inside a caged dome. Honestly, am I playing Cannon's Core or Hot Shelter again? Anyway, once the liquid is drained out, Knuckles has to unlock the last security door by swimming through these waterway areas. Unless you have the air necklace equipped, this section is next to impossible. Thankfully, there's no treasure hunting with neither Rouge nor Knuckles, which is what their levels should have been like in the first place. However, I swear this one part Knuckles section always gets me the most trouble. Not to mention, you have to avoid this green acid while swimming, otherwise you will lose all of your rings. Eventually, Knuckles unlocks the final security door leading to the final section of the level. And who gets to finish the level?
Why, Sonic the Hedgehog, of course! All you need to do is get the goal ring at the end of the stage, avoiding some bottomless pits with some enemies to home and attack across, deal with some annoying multiplying enemies, I don't know what those are called, so correct me in the comments. And towards the end, you're riding down a slide of water recycled from the first adventure game. But who cares? It's so much fun! Whee! So Amy enters the research facility, Heiberg, and she finds Shadow, who refuses to help out because his mission has been accomplished. Amy pleads with Shadow to give humanity another chance, which not only triggers another Maria flashback, but Shadow now figures out what Maria wanted him to do, to benefit all of mankind. Well, that was easy.
Sonic and Knuckles arrive at the core when suddenly a giant lizard appears. It turns out this thing is the Bio Lizard, which is the prototype of the ultimate life form. Perhaps Gerald kept this thing as a backup defense system. All I know is, without knowing the backstory, going from a giant lizard to a small black hedgehog just feels like kind of a weird leap.
Remember that lizard I talked about in that one cutscene? No? Well, that's what it is. Looks like the element of foreshadowing from the previous game is somehow back in this game.
It's here we get a boss fight against the Bio Lizard. And this bad boy? The name doesn't lie. He's truly a monster.
Plus, this boss fight is extremely difficult unless you play this game so many times.
Yeah, but trying to get by him unscathed at all is still up to chance. First off, he'll try to chase you down to take a bite out of you. But if you go too fast, you'll have to contend with the
Extra thick!
while the Bio Lizard swipes his tail at you. To get to his weak point, you have to grind up the pipe sticking out of his mouth, then jump and smack it. Careful where you land. He'll mix in energy projectiles for his next attack, and once he's past half health, he'll stop letting it bounce up that pipe, and you'll have to bounce on the pink eggs he surrounds himself with. Bear in mind, you also have to avoid tripping into the water flow. Basically, watch for when the ground turns brown under your feet and then jump. If not, and you don't jump out in time, you're doing it all again. The last hit's kind of a freebie, but it is a nerve-wracking one. You have to carefully move through the minefield of egg bombs while floating. You can make it, but boy is it tense.
Knuckles uses the Master Emerald to stop the Chaos Emeralds, but the Bio Lizard uses Chaos Control to merge itself with the space colony, continuing its collision course. Sonic and Shadow team up and use the Chaos Emeralds to transform into the Super Saiyan states, making the ultimate debut of Super Shadow. This leads to the final boss fight against the Final Hazard. Like Adventure 1, it uses the game's main theme. Only this time it's Live and Learn, performed by Crush 40. And just like before, your ring count will deplete. While it does provide a fun challenge as well as elements of high speed, there are times where the boss fight is even more of a challenge. Like the previous fight against the Bio Lizard, its weak spot is the red boil. But here's the challenging part. It'll later defend itself via projectiles and 1 or 2 lasers. Shockingly enough, I actually managed to beat this boss at around 2 minutes. Why? Because the A and B buttons affect the direction of the homing attack. Pressing A causes Sonic or Shadow to go up, and pressing B causes them to go down. Plus, you can switch characters if one manages to hit its weak spot, or if you run out of rings.
And listening to Let's Be Real Here Again, the best Sonic ending boss fight song ever! Live and learn! This song, like Escape from the City, is the best song in the game, and it's in all the hearts of the fans who played this game. It's so awesome!
Admittedly, it'll take some getting used to using Supersonic's controls, especially since he and Shadow feel so slow, and you can't have them just move forward with that homing dash. So it's gonna feel weird readjusting your altitude to find the welts. Also, I swear the attack works when it feels like it. This is why Sonic's homing attack now has a reticle showing what you can attack. Also, yeah, it's easy to beat the thing in 2 minutes or so, but have you ever let the time run down past the 5 minutes the game says you have? There's some hidden dialogue during the last minute or so, like when Shadow finally acknowledging that Sonic as his equal or as his superior, and Sonic saying that if Shadow keeps this up, he could die. It's rare, but not unheard of to find the dialogue in game.
A few hits to the Bio Lizard and the game is done, right?
Not just yet. It turns out the Ark is still approaching the Earth, but with a giant chaos control from Shadow and myself, we managed to stabilize the space colony while also saving the Earth from total catastrophe. All's well that ends well, right?
Not for Shadow, apparently. He falls to his death with Maria's wish fulfilled.
Maria, this is what you wanted, right? This is my promise I made to you.
So Sonic, how come Shadow dies after this event and you survive? Because that always bothered me.
That's easy. Remember how in Sonic 3 and Knuckles when I fell to the Earth after defeating Eggman in Doomsday Zone?
Oh, now I see what you mean.
So Sonic returns to the Ark as they reflect upon the journey as well as mourn the loss of Shadow.
But don't worry, fans, he'll be back, as the next game clearly shows.
Sonic bids farewell, or sayonara in this case, and we get a lovely piano piece.
And that concludes the story mode for this game. Now, on to the other modes! In order to gain more emblems, you can revisit stages in the level select and complete extra missions like collecting 100 rings, finding a lost Chow, or reaching the goal ring within a time limit. One power-up I forgot to mention earlier is Mystic Melody. If you reach a hidden stone and have them play a flute, it will reveal another passage, whether for a shortcut or a hidden item.
Let me just say here, I'm so happy they allowed us to choose our mission instead of forcing us to go to the next one like an SA1, since I'm the guy who just likes to go to the goal ring without any other weird stuff thrown in. That said, these are a pain. The 100 ring mission isn't too bad since a lot of stages just pepper you with rings. The Lost Chow is neat because it gives the Mystic Melody a purpose. And if you check those areas before going for the Chow, you get an extra life. Some of them you really gotta search for, and I only know where a lot of them are thanks to my strategy guide. As for the time limit, yeah, no. I'm the guy who doesn't like to prioritize speed over everything else. If I know the level back and forth, then fine, but good luck. Especially if you're going for an A rank. These missions are why ranks are so frustrating for completionists. You get an A rank for every level, and each mission, you get an emblem. Some of these A ranks are super strict. I never did it legitimately. I used an action replay to get me a lot of the emblems. But even then, there was still a lot of work to be done.
Also returning from SA1 is the Chow Garden, which is handled so much better here. In order to gain access to the Chow Garden, you have to find a key located in the stage and complete the level with it. Then, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Tails, you lazy... So you can control Tails out of his mech after all. And not only that, he can run kind of fast and can fly. Why can't we have a stage like this instead of whatever that is? Oh wait, you can control Eggman out of his mech too. Yeah, that's weird. Eggman, no.
Yosh.
Anyway, similar to SA1, you can feed your Chow fruit and absorb properties of the animals found in stages. However, if you want to raise its stats, you have to collect these Chow's tribes, or Chaos tribes, whatever, that are dropped whenever you defeat an enemy. There's not much more to it than that. You can also bring your Chow to class and have them compete in races, as well as Chow Karate.
In Chow Karate, your Chow faces off against 5 random Chow in a tournament. This is also required if you want the remaining emblems. Your Chow wins if you either defeat your opponent or have more health when the round is over. But there's one thing this game has that's different from Adventure 1, and that is a full-out multiplayer mode.
Ooh, can I join in?
Sure, why not?
Thanks, gamer.
While the Dreamcast version has multiplayer elements, it doesn't even come close to the Battle version. Why? Because every character needed for multiplayer is unlocked from the get-go. You and a buddy can race to the finish with Sonic and Shadow, shoot each other with Tails and Eggman, or fight for an emerald piece with Knuckles and Rouge. If a player collects a certain amount of rings, that player can perform a special power, whether it's stopping your opponent for a few seconds, speeding up, or throwing a Chaos Spear at your opponent. In addition to the regulars, you can play as Amy Rose, Metal Sonic, Tikal and Chaos Zero from Adventure 1, and even these Robo-Chows. Finally, there's kart racing, whether single player or multiplayer. All the problems we mentioned are still here, but it's a nice little distraction to say the least.
That was incredible. So, what'd you all think of it?
Well, Sonic, if you were to ask me, I think it's alright. While it's not bad by all means, I don't think it aged very well in my opinion. Graphically, it looks amazing. It looks better than Adventure 1 from the level design to the cutscene quality both in-game and FMV. Even the characters look better in my opinion. As for the gameplay, this is where I have mixed opinions. I love the Sonic and Shadow stages with its high-speed platforming without any questions. I somewhat enjoy the mech shooting levels, but I personally think the Gamma levels did it much better. While I like the idea of having a health bar instead of a time limit, I don't think defeating enemies with the mechs is that rewarding to me. Except for storing some bonus points to your score, but that's about it. The treasure hunting levels are much worse in this game than Adventure 1. I don't like the Butcher Rare system, and the hit system doesn't help me in the slightest. And this is one of the reasons why I prefer Adventure 1 over the sequel. The gameplay mechanics used in SA1 work perfectly fine, especially the treasure hunting levels. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And unfortunately, it's not the case here. Also, I felt the levels were a bit more linear than Adventure 1 stages, therefore restricting the exploration factor. The overall story is easier to comprehend, having 3 campaigns rather than 7, but the irony is that the story in Adventure 1 is much more detailed than Adventure 2. The game's story has too many plot elements that are neither answered nor explained very clearly. But the main reason why I think Sonic Adventure 1 is more superior than Sonic Adventure 2 is because Adventure 1 left a greater impact on me and would eventually become my all-time favorite 3 Sonic game. I personally believe that Sonic Adventure 2 took one step forward for its presentation, but ended up taking 2 steps back. One for the multiple plot holes, and the other for the unnecessarily neutered gameplay mechanics. Overall, Sonic Adventure 2 is an okay game, but if you want to play the definitive version, then play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube. While there are a few sound mixing issues, they're not as evident as they are in the Dreamcast and in the HD remastered version. But give this game a try when you get a chance.
Don't sleep on the PC version either, thanks to the extensive modding community. There's so much going on in this. For something like choosing your character for a level, or hiding your upgrades on your characters, one of my personal favorites, to full-on new levels, and an extended Chow Garden, it's just so much more! As for the game itself, I don't know. Look, I'll always love it for what it means to me and my time growing up, but I agree that Adventure 1 was more fun and easier to work with. There was a little too much in some places and not enough in others in this one. The biggest issue for me is the state of the game in the fandom. Everyone used to worship the ground this game walked on and always beg for another re-release. But now that critical attention has been given, it's hard to tell what people think. The story's all over the place, and if people talk about this game, they're only really bringing up Sonic and Shadow, not to mention the Chow Garden. Is it the best thing ever? Not really. Is it complete trash? Absolutely not. There's good things and bad things in here. It's not for everyone, but if it clicks with you when you're getting into the series, give some other Sonic games a try. The series is full of moments like this, but everyone has their favorites. Adventure 2 is a great time, but after all these years, nostalgia washes away, and I've noticed a lot of problems. But for every misstep, there are some of the best moments in Sonic history. Eggman was in full force. He's never come so close to conquering the world. I still get chills when I see the scene where he shoots Sonic into space. Eggman is the best character in here. This is my favorite version of him, even if he fully embraced his nickname and dropped Robotnik altogether. I have all kinds of things I could say, but I've said enough. Give it a shot if you want. Don't let anyone sway your decision in the end.
In my opinion, Sonic Adventure 2 is the best 3D Sonic games in terms of gameplay and character development. It plays great with its style, improving from Adventure 1, controls great too, has decent characters to root for like Shadow, Rouge, Tails, Knuckles, Sonic, Amy, and heck, even Eggman. And decent character development in which not one character doesn't act out of character or is bad. However, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. In terms of the story and plot elements, not as much. The game just has so many plot holes once you really take the time to think about it. Heck, even more so than the first adventure game. The story is very complicated and feels rushed. I'll give the game this. It did pave the way and give ideas for how future Sonic game stories should be. Until the late Colors era, that is. I'll get to that sometime, I hope. There is a reason why Sonic Unleashed is my favorite Sonic game while Adventure 2 is my best Sonic game, in my opinion. It's because I feel the characters were great in SA2, but it had a complicated story. While in Sonic Unleashed, the characters weren't as good as in Adventure 2, but the story and writing was amazing and very simple. Just defeat the bad guy, save the world, and solve some conflicts along the way. That's all you really need for a Sonic game. So in my opinion, it is a very good Sonic game. I just wish new Sonic games took how Sonic Adventure 2 played and felt with its characters and development, and kept the story simple and well written like in Unleashed.
This may potentially be the longest game review I've ever done, but at least it was worth it in the end. And thanks GC and Sonicify for helping out.
You bet, gamer. It's been a pleasure as always.
No problem, gamer. Now, if you excuse me, I have to get my Sonic plush back.
Glad you could join in. So, gamer, what's next on your agenda?
You know your birthday is next month, right?
Right.
So why not celebrate with another one of your games?
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it already.
Indeed. I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer, and I wish you all good luck for the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone. How's it going, dudes? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you want to get notified for upcoming videos. Also, be sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as my character buddies on TikTok and video commissions, linked to those in the description below. And because it's a special review, here's Sonic to finish it off. Sonic?
Thanks, gamer. If you liked what you saw and want to help support the channel, then be sure to check out the Fairly Odd Gamer on Patreon. As a supporter, you can chat with everyone who helped out, as well as other fans, have your name in the credits, and even watch some bonus content such as sneak peeks and even early showings of upcoming game reviews. With that said, it's my honor to present this month's shoutout to Alexander Bone, otherwise known as Wisdom Tote. Thank you so much for watching this video, as well as supporting the channel.